Throughout the history of the NBA, we have seen plenty of superstars come and go in this game. Stars that are so gifted that we couldn't help but just admire their greatness. If I ask you to imagine which superstars scored more points than anyone else in a month, which names would come to your mind? Wilt Chamberlain, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, and maybe LeBron James or Steph Curry. But what if I tell you that in the modern NBA, James Harden had arguably the best defensive stretch in NBA history? Would you believe me? The past few years, we can all admit as fans, we've been harsh on Harden as a player. We're all seeing that he's been a shell of his former self. But let me show you why Harden holds the most unbelievable offensive stretch in the modern era of the NBA. In January 2019, James Harden had a historic performance, averaging 43.6 points per game, 8.7 rebounds, and 7.6 assists in over 14 games. This stretch of games is considered one of the greatest offensive performances in modern NBA history, if not the greatest, with Harden's scoring average for the month being the highest for any NBA player since Wilt Chamberlain's historic run in the 1960s. Harden's scoring average is noted as the 7th highest in a single month in NBA history with a minimum of 10 games played. Harden's scoring and points off assists accounted for an average of 61.9 points in January, making him the first player to average above 60 in a single month. During this month, he had 5 40-point games, 2 50-point games, 1 60-point games, and 0 games under 30 points in 14 games. But we're talking about the modern era here, which is considered to be after the ABA and NBA merger in 1977. So guys like Wilt, Elgin Baylor, and early 70s Kareem are out of the picture. So now, let's fast forward to the modern NBA. Here are the top 10 scorers in a stretch of a month in league history that scored at least 35 points per game. Here's Harden, leading the pack with 43.6 points per game, followed by Kobe Bryant with his highest being 43.4 points per game. Then there's Michael Jordan at 39 a game. Damian Lillard with his 38.5 and Dominique Wilkins dropping 38.2 points of his own. Harden's scoring average was not just remarkable for its sheer volume, but also for its efficiency. He had a true shooting percentage of 60.9 during this period. True shooting percentage is a measure of shooting efficiency that takes into account field goals, 3-point field goals, and free throws. Let's compare how his true shooting percentage stacked up against other players that also went off offensively for 1 month. We got Steph Curry in a league of his own leading the NBA with a true shooting percentage of 71.6% in February 2016. Then, a little bit below is Damian Lillard with 68.8% in February 2023. Then Kevin Durant with 68.5% in January 2014. Then the middle of the pack with guys scoring less than 40 a game, dominated by Michael Jordan and James Harden. Kobe Bryant is also in a league of his own with multiple 40-plus point a game a month, but his best one is on January 26th, where he had a true shooting percentage of 61.1%. Then we move on to the lower tier of the list, where we have guys like Allen Iverson with the lowest true shooting percentage on this list, with 52.1% in February 2001. But where does January 2019 James Harden rank? Right here, a feat where only Harden and Kobe have accomplished. We all know Harden's free throw shooting was a significant contributor to his scoring. This means that a significant portion of his points came from free throws, demonstrating his ability to draw fouls and capitalize on these opportunities. These are all the players that shot the most free throws in a whole month that scored at least 35 a game. You might say the stats for Harden are inflated because he likes to foul bait, and this new era of the NBA shoots too many free throws. But the reality is, it's probably far from true. As you can see, here are how many free throws were shot by the whole league each season. And here's the January 2019 season where Harden shot his 174 free throws from. It sounds crazy, but yeah, it's ranked 33rd. I won't take away the fact that, yes, I do know Harden exploited some rules which the league later changed. But you can't blame the man for taking advantage of what was given to him. In addition to his scoring, Harden also made significant contributions in terms of rebounding and assisting. He averaged 8.7 rebounds and 7.6 assists per game. These numbers highlight his all-around game and ability to contribute in multiple ways. During James Harden's historic run in January 2019, there were several standout performances that showcased his offensive prowess. On January 14th, Harden scored an impressive 57 points. This was followed by another high-scoring game on January 16th, where he scored 58 points. However, the pinnacle of Harden's performance came on January 23rd, when he scored a career-high 61 points against the New York Knicks. In this game, Harden not only scored a franchise-high 61 points, but also recorded 15 rebounds and 5 steals. This made him the first player to record at least 60 points, 15 rebounds, and 5 steals since steals became an official statistic in 1973 to 74, aka an ESPN type of stat line. Harden also became the 5th player in NBA history to record multiple 60-point games. Another notable performance was on January 19th, when he scored 48 points against the Los Angeles Lakers. This game was part of a 6-game stretch from January 12 to January 23, where Harden averaged an astonishing 49.8 points, 9.5 rebounds, and 5.5 assists. During his exceptional performance in January 2019, James Harden showcased a variety of offensive skills that contributed to his high-scoring average. Harden's signature moves, such as the step-back 3 and the Euro step, were key components of his offensive arsenal. His famous step-back 3, where he's notorious for taking 2 steps back without traveling, was the move that Harden used to create space between him and his defender, allowing him to take and make 3-point shots with high efficiency. This move was a significant contributor to his scoring, as he made 78 threes during this period, and majority of it came from step-backs. Harden's Euro step was another effective tool in his offensive repertoire. You know, the move that allowed Harden to navigate through defenders and get to the basket. Harden's footwork, ability to change direction and speed quickly, combined with his exceptional ball handling skills, made him an impossible player to guard. And despite the criticisms of his solo act, Harden averaged 7.6 assists during this period, ranking 9th in the NBA. His ability to find open teammates and create scoring opportunities for others was why he ranks on top of the best offensive stretches in the NBA. However, it's worth noting that some critics have pointed out that Harden's style of play during this period was heavily reliant on drawing fouls and getting to the free throw line, which led to some controversy and debate about the style and aesthetics of his play. A lot of fans that weren't Rockets fans hated this kind of play style, but like I mentioned earlier, it's one of the things that Harden exploited to benefit his game. After a slow start to the season, Harden's exceptional offensive performance, including a streak of 30 points in 32 straight games, helped the Rockets recover from being nearly last in the Western Conference to contending for home court advantage in the playoffs. His scoring streak was instrumental in carrying the Rockets to a series of victories, including a dramatic win against the stacked Golden State Warriors. Harden's performance not only boosted the team's standing, but also lifted the team's spirit. His ability to consistently deliver high-scoring games, despite the pressure and the team's initial struggles, demonstrated his leadership and resilience. In terms of strategy, Harden's performance led to adjustments in the Rockets' offensive approach. His heavy usage was out of necessity, as the Rockets needed his immense scoring to stay afloat. His unique style of play became the main point of the Rockets' offensive strategy. This shift in strategy was not without its challenges, as it resulted in Harden being worn down by the end of a playoff series. However, it was also a crucial factor in the Rockets' turnaround and their push for the playoffs. James Harden also forced teams to adapt their defensive strategies when guarding him. Recognizing his scoring ability, teams had to improvise new ways to limit his impact. One notable example was the Milwaukee Bucks' unique defensive strategy. They sat on Harden's left, practically begging him to attack the basket with his weaker hand. Then they kept a big man right in front of the basket, one whose sole job was to contest without fouling. Meanwhile, the rest of the team cut off any Harden kick-out pass. This strategy was designed to invite Harden to drive right into the teeth of the defense, and a risky move considering Harden's offensive capabilities. However, it worked to some extent, as Harden scored 42 points, but also took 30 shots and committed 9 turnovers. Then the Utah Jazz, for instance, tried to slow Harden down by forcing him away from the three-point line and into Rudy Gobert, who was the league's best interior defender at that time. Another notable strategy was employed by the Los Angeles Lakers, where Josh Hart held his hands behind his back while guarding Harden to show referees he wasn't using his hands and to avoid fouling. The riskiest, but probably the most effective defensive strategy, however, was to use specific players who had proven effective in guarding Harden. For instance, Andre Iguodala of the Golden State Warriors was identified as one of the best at slowing down the offensive juggernaut in James Harden. As the primary defender, he held Harden to an inefficient 39.7% field goal and 32.7% three-point percentage, lower than his season average of 44.2% field goal and 36.8% from three. So yeah, Harden's January 2019 stretch was truly historic. While it's difficult to definitively label any performance as the most offensive stretch ever due to the evolution of the game and differences in play styles, Harden's run during that month is undoubtedly one of the greatest, if not the greatest, offensive feats in modern NBA history. But where would you rank Harden's historical month amongst the greatest performances in NBA history? Let me know in the comments down below. YouTube also thinks that you'll like this video popping up on the screen, so click it and see if they're right. Also, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you made it this far.